All right, so we're back in our Windows Forms application. I've just cleaned up the buttons because we have a lot of examples in this module. I'm just going to run out of space. So I do have one button. It's called Load Include. And if we take a look at the code inside of here, we can see it's very similar to what we had before in the last module. So I'm going to load the web, and then I'm going to use a link query here to load a set of lists. And then once we get our response back, I'm going to show out the web title, and I'm going to iterate through the list collection and show the title of each of the lists. So let's just run this as it is, but let's just trace what happens with Fiddler here. So I'll come back to my application, hit F5, click the load button. There we can see the title of the site and then the title of each of the lists. And then if we come over to Fiddler here and click on this call, so this is the call to client.svc. The operation is called process query. Right? If we go into raw view, we can see here is the XML document that gets sent off to the service representing the information that we want back. And then here is our response. Again, it's a set of JSON data. So let's look at a couple things. First off, let's go into text. Actually, let's just go into raw view. And one of the things we want to take a look at here is the content length. So the size of the response packet without the headers is 9563. Okay, so just remember that, 9563. And then if we come into the JSON view, we can see we get some header information here. And then here is the object representing our SP web, right? So if we scroll down, we're going to get the title, which is just demo. And then we're going to have our lists. So here are the set of SP list objects, right? So if we scroll down here, we can see this is the first list. It is, let's find the title. It's the categories list. And then we have the customers list, and so on. So this is what we're getting back if we don't specify the fields we're actually interested in. All right, so we'll come back to our project. We'll stop debugging here. And now let's see what happens when we specify the fields we want. So for the load method, the second parameter is actually a parameter array of lambdas. Each lambda represents one property or field we want to bring back. So we'll say here w goes to w.title. And then just to show you how it works, we'll also say w goes to w.description. So if we had multiple properties we want to bring back, it's just one lambda for each. And then here with load query, we're bringing back a collection. So we're going to use include. And we can use the include either here in the load query method itself, or we can use it up here in the actual collection. It doesn't really matter which way we go. So let's just do it here. So for each list, I want to bring back the list title. All right, so now for the web, we're bringing back just a title and description. And for each of the lists in the list collection, we're just bringing back the title. Let's hit F5. Let's click our load button. We can see we get the same results as before. But if we flip over to Fiddler and take a look, and let's just remind ourselves, coming back here, the response size for the last request was 9563. Come over here, and now we can see it's just 2002. So if we go take a look at the JSON objects coming back, we can see there for our SP web, we're just getting the title and description. We also get the object identity and the object type. That comes for every single object. And then down here for our collection, we can see we get just the title. So pretty significant savings in terms of the network traffic. Now coming over to our SharePoint 2013 app project, where we're looking at JavaScript examples. Again, I've cleaned up here, so I've just have the one button. We'll call it load button. And then here in the click event handler, you can see that I specified I just want to bring back the title and description for the web. and just the title for each of the list items. So in the JavaScript version, instead of lambda expressions, we just have strings to indicate the fields or properties that we're interested in. An additional item to note is the syntax we use to iterate through the list collection. Actually, sorry, it's really this guy right there. So we haven't seen this before. When I call web-get-list, the object that's returned is an sp.listCollection. And the way we iterate through the collections in the client object model is to get their enumerator and then use the move next to go through each of the individual items. And then inside the loop, we access the individual items by asking the enumerator to give us the current item, and then we can access its properties. So when iterating through the native collection types in the JavaScript client object model, this is the syntax we'll use. In this section, we saw the basic use of include. In the next section, we'll see how we can use nested includes to bring back properties of collections that are more than one level deep.